Welcome to another 5-minute drawing lesson. Today we're going to draw the Citroen 2CV, which, although it's a simple car, it's actually quite tricky to draw. It's got some difficult combinations of curves and straight lines. But, so it might come out slightly longer than 5 minutes, but let's see. So the first thing we'll do is draw the front wheel. And try to draw everything as lightly as possible until we get to the very end when we add the shading and firm some lines up. And the next wheel will be 2 wheels further back, so 1, 2. In the actual car it's slightly longer still, but this will make for a good kind of caricature. So we're going to make our lives slightly easier by doing a slight caricature and making the car a bit old and beaten up, which will help us with our difficult curves. So now we need the bottom edge of the car, which will go from the middle of the front wheel and it will cross through the back wheel up here. And usually it's got a kind of a sloping stance. We'll draw the floor in just so you can see that tilt. Now we'll do one of the first tricky parts, which is the front wheel arch. So you need a kind of a slug arch sort of shape over the front. And we'll just put a suggestion of the back one in as well. It starts with a sloping straight line, comes up about as high as the front one, but remember you're higher up at the back than the front. It arches over and comes back down to its that kind of shape. We might modify that later. Now the front edge of the front door starts just after the mudguard, and remember, although it's a vertical line in relation to the base of the car, your car's tilted, so this needs to be a right angle, so it's slightly tilted. The joint between the front and the back door, if you go to the halfway point and add a bit so that your front door is bigger than the back door, draw another right-angled line there. Now a horizontal line, or one that runs parallel to this tilting line, a bit higher than the front wheel arch, like that. And now you can add the bonnet, it curves round to meet that line, and the front windscreen, which has a straight line because it's a flat screen, slight tilt like that. Then it curves round to meet that line there. And that arch continues round right to there and comes back on itself to make the back window. Kind of tricky. And if you're lucky, if you did it far enough back, your door will follow that curve and then come down at an angle in front of that rear wheel arch. And the roof, you need to add a bit of thickness for the roof and then extend out further back. Don't follow this line. The temptation is to go from there and down to there, but you need to add a bit more space here where in the later cars you had a window. So it extends out the back a bit, then curves, and then comes down straight. Now I've got major things to add, like the headlights. Again, I'm making these slightly bigger just to make it a bit more of a cute caricature. Some bumpers. And what else do we need? This line for the windscreen can carry on down, and then we get some louvers in the bonnet. Some door handles, and we'll also make it feel a bit more three-dimensional by adding the wheels on the far side, and the underneath you'd see an exhaust pipe sticking out there, sticking out the back. So hopefully you've been drawing reasonably lightly to this point, because it's not too difficult to make an adjustment if you need to. And now we can start making it look nice, because it looks a bit rough at the moment. So that's the fun part, and this is where your own particular style will come into play. So the idea is that we basically shade everything that's underneath the car. And everybody's got their own way of shading. I like doing these vertical lines. When you're under this rear wheel arch, because it overhangs the wheel, you can add a shadow overhanging the wheel like that. So anything that's under the car would be fairly dark, wouldn't it? Including the shadow, because I'm going to make this a bit of a rustic, beaten up car, so I'm going to make a grassy surface for it to go on. And you can shade that with random cross-hatching to show that it's natural, whereas these parallel tidy shading marks can be for man-made objects like the car. There we are, a bit of grass. Some shading under the front wheel arch. So basically anything that's the underside, bottom edges and things, you can darken a bit. But leave top edges pretty much as you drew them, unless they're in the wrong place, because that will suggest a bit of shading then. It would be like having top surfaces in the sun and under surfaces in the shade. So you'd probably see the far side of the car through the windscreen, through the side screens. Maybe the steering wheel. They've got a horizontal window opening. And you can add some scuffs and scrapes and dirt or bits of rust, whatever they might be. Maybe even a little sticker if you like. Customise it however you like. We're not far off at this point, I think. With the shading, it's nice to have a few very dark marks, some very lightly drawn lines, and then some kind of in-between shading. It just kind of makes it interesting to look at. I think that's not too bad. Looks like a well-loved... Ooh, sorry. One last thing, it was 3 wheel nuts. Classic Citroen detail. Yes, and that's definitely done. Hope you enjoyed that. See you for another one soon.